All right.
Alrighty, how are you?
I am so well.
I am
well.
I am swell.
Yes, I am so well. You are swell. Today's an interesting day.
Yeah.
For
many reasons.
For many reasons. Today we're going to talk about the difference between a financial coach and a financial advisor, how to determine which one you need, and what the main difference is if you've been dealing with one or the other, or whether you need one or the other. So we're going to talk all about that. And you have lots of experience.
Yes.
Both, actually.
I have been both, yes. In terms of, I started off as a financial advisor before I went into financial coaching. And there are many differences that we'll go through today, but I think the main, or the first one that comes to mind, when I was a financial advisor, it was very much performance-based. So we were looking at investments, we were looking at how products were performing, that our clients were using.
Yep.
So again, it was very focused on performance. What was the difference quarter to quarter, annual to, year to year. However, with coaching and working with clients one-on-one, I was having a conversation much more interested in the behavior and much more interested in the psychology, which oftentimes had absolutely nothing to do with the numbers.
Yeah, right.
So that's definitely one thing that I would say is a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really about, advising is about the performance of the investments, whereas coaching in my mind is about the behavior of the person. So, performance is about, did I make 6% on my mutual fund, versus behavior is, are you doing all the right things necessary with your money that fit your values and, make sure you're putting yourself on the right track and all of that, right?
Yeah. And by the way, if you did earn 6%, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think the interesting distinction to make here too is that even if someone has hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in investments, they still could use a coach.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So I have a lot of clients who actually work with financial planners, financial advisors, and they work with me as well because they know that I'm having conversations that their advisor is not.
Yep.
And by the way, we're not in any way, shape, form saying that like one or the other is better, because there are a lot of things that I do as a coach that I actually refer out to advisors and planners. And it really is kind of the combination of the two that it really is a sweet spot. So, I have clients that are working with both me and with their advisor because we're covering different aspects of their holistic financial picture.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, what I find is that a lot of advisors are telling, or a lot of coaches are asking.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. And you currently work with an advisor, right?
I do.
Okay. And then do you have that experience that there's a lot of instruction and direction and recommendation?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. They come to me with specific suggestions. They are encouraging certain investment vehicles and avenues. There is less about the questioning of what are my beliefs around money, or how would I like, the future to look, those kinds of things. They certainly have questions around what is the ideal number, or what do I think my retirement, goals or vehicles might be. But it's less about, tell me about how you want to experience life and stuff like that. It's just not a lot of that.
Yeah. It was funny I think I've always been interested in like the second layer of when someone gives me a response to, okay, what is retirement? Like, when do you want to retire? 67, okay. Or how much money do you need? This much. I was always interested in asking, like, so what are you going to do when you retire?
Yeah, right.
Like, what does it look like? And it's funny because the advisor that I was working with was engineering degree, PhD in material sciences, like very numbers driven.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because in working with him, we were able to tackle both.
Cool.
So I personally I love the coaching.
It's super valuable, right? Like both of them I think are necessary. And if you've never worked with a financial coach, both of us strongly encourage you to do so. One of the things that I really want to point out is that, from a coach's perspective, whether you are someone who has millions of dollars in the bank or not, and we've dealt with people who have had pretty significant net worths, but still feel a level of insecurity. So if you're wondering, is a coach right for me or is an advisor right for me? hopefully if you have that kind of money, you're working with an advisor or you're very gifted at it yourself. But if you're still feeling the pull of insecurity or of just feeling like really uncertain about your money, that may be more of a coaching conversation than an advisor. Because again, there are people who have vast amounts of wealth that still feel really ill at ease around money, that they would be well served to work with a coach.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And also, I think traditionally in the advising space, they are looking for people who have investable assets. So the conversation of what is your minimum, or we have a minimum, is a very common conversation.
Yep.
Whereas coaches, I don't care how much money you have or don't have.
Right.
So if you're to also ask yourself where you are, if you don't have assets to invest, but you're still interested in learning about finances, how to set up a foundation, then coaching might be for you versus the advisor route.
Right.
So it really depends on where you're at, what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. In our programs that we do on college campuses, we get a lot of students that will come up and ask, well, how would I get started in investing, and should I consult with a financial advisor? And 9 times out of 10, they have, a grand sum total of $2,000 or something, right? Or they have a very limited amount every single month that they can put towards an investment. A situation like that may not be likely that an advisor would work with you, because again, many of them have a minimum of whatever, maybe $50,000 or $100,000 in investable assets. So in a case like that, a coach may actually be a good solution for a young person to do a number of things, to get right with their money emotionally, to figure out where there are maybe gaps or holes in their budget, and then also to sort of set them on the right path in terms of beginning to invest in no-load mutual funds and those kinds of things.
And then, in building so much wealth that they then graduate to working with
Indeed.
advisors.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So here's our challenge to you is, if you have not worked with a financial coach, consider it, investigate, read some blogs and posts, watch some of the other videos on Mastery of Money to find out if a coach would be right for you or if an advisor is right for you. And remember that advisors are more telling oriented, where coaches would be more question oriented, asking oriented. And there may be a minimum with advisors where there is no minimum with coaches. Anything else to say about that?
Nope. I think, really, as Mastery of Money, in this journey of mastery, it's really looking at where you are. So being introspective, being, insightfully straight with yourself around what it is that you need, I think can help guide this conversation of, whether advising or coaching or even both would be beneficial.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for those who maybe have tended to the other side, where maybe we're dealing with some collections and things like that, stay tuned in the next episode. We'll talk about how do you challenge collections and negotiate those down or off of your credit report. So stay tuned. See you next time. Boom.